Welcome to Everything Creepy. Turn off the lights, cuddle up tight, and enjoy the story. Picture this: an entire village, gripped by fear, packs up and leaves. Not gradually, not over years, but all at once. No farewell letters, no long goodbyes. They left their homes, their tools, their fishing gear, everything, as if they were running from something they couldn't see. This wasn't the aftermath of war. There was no famine or disease. This was Portlock, Alaska. And in the 1940s, it became a ghost town almost overnight. Locals say it wasn't nature that pushed them out. Not the isolation or the weather, but something else. Something that stalked them, that dragged their friends away in the night, left blood on the riverbanks and silence in the trees. They gave it a name: Nantinaq, a towering man-shaped figure said to be covered in hair, smarter than a bear and deadlier than a man. A creature from native Alaskan legend said to live deep in the forest, and when angered, a creature that kills. This is the true story of Portlock, a place so plagued by death and fear, its people vanished into the mist and left behind only whispers. Portlock was more than a dot on the map. It was a functioning salmon cannery town with a population of several hundred at its peak, located near the southern tip of Alaska's Kenai Peninsula. Founded in the early 1900s, it had a post office, stores, docks, and enough infrastructure to support fishermen and loggers who came for the area's abundant natural resources. But behind the prosperity was unease. For decades, the native Alutiiq and Sagpayak peoples told stories of a being in the woods. Not just an animal, but a presence. Something massive and intelligent that avoided humans. Until it didn't. The first strange events began as whispers. Around 1931, loggers and trappers started going missing. Not just the occasional disappearance you might expect in remote territory, but seasoned hunters who knew the land well. Their bodies were often never found, and when they were, it was grisly, torn apart, mutilated, or with massive crushing injuries. In one chilling account, a logger's remains were discovered near a stream, his tools still beside him. His body was broken, bones shattered, not clawed or mauled like a bear attack, smashed. Others told of strange tracks, larger than any man or bear, often with an unnatural stride, sometimes disappearing mid-trail, as if the creature leapt or vanished into the trees. Eyewitnesses spoke of hearing cries in the night, not wolves or moose, something else. A low, guttural howl that echoed across the canyon. In 1942, a man was found dead near his home, surrounded by broken tree limbs, some snapped 6 feet off the ground. Locals said there was no storm. No animal would have done this. It was as if something massive had passed through with force and purpose. The fear grew and reports piled up. Some villagers even claimed they were being watched from the trees, glimpsing dark shapes that moved too fast and too silently. Then the stories took a darker turn. Children began to disappear. Tools left out overnight were found broken or thrown across the forest. Livestock vanished. By the mid-1940s, the tension had reached a breaking point. The town school shut down. The post office officially closed in 1949. Not just one family, all of them. Within a year, Portlock was abandoned. Houses stood empty. Church pews collected dust. Fishing boats floated loose in the harbor. It was as if the land had turned against them or something on it had. For decades, Portlock remained silent, an eerie ghost town overtaken by moss and fog. But the stories never left. In the 2000s, cryptid researchers and journalists began revisiting the legend of Nantinaq. Locals from nearby villages still spoke of the creature but were hesitant to name it directly, fearing it might draw its attention. In 2021, the Discovery Plus series Alaskan Killer Bigfoot brought renewed attention to Portlock. A group of descendants from the original settlers, along with investigators, returned to the site to spend weeks in the abandoned village. During the expedition, they claimed to hear strange howling at night, witnessed rocks being thrown at their camp, and found massive footprints in the mud. Equipment malfunctioned. Wildlife vanished from the area. They described a growing sense of dread as the days went on. One man claimed to see a massive, upright figure standing among the trees just at the edge of his flashlight beam. Skeptics point to other explanations. A rogue human or backwoods killer in the 1940s. Bear attacks misinterpreted due to trauma and panic. Group hysteria fueled by isolation in the harsh Alaskan wilderness. But none of those theories explain the size of the tracks, the broken trees, or the consistency of the testimonies. And most disturbingly, why an entire village left without ever returning. Today, Portlock still stands empty. Nature is reclaiming it, but the buildings remain, haunted by silence and memory. Locals still avoid the site. Elders warn against staying after dark. And they still speak of Nantinaq. They say it isn't a ghost, it isn't a myth. It's a warning. And if you hear footsteps in the woods when you're alone, you better hope it's a bear. Because if it isn't, you won't get a second chance to run. If this gave you chills, hit subscribe for more stories that blur the line between reality and the impossible. And remember, just because it sounds unbelievable doesn't mean it isn't true.